So I've already made a video talking about why I love the Kanto region. The previous video I made a video talking about why I love the Johto region. I've already made a video talking about why I love the Sinnoh region, so if you guys want to check that out, be sure to leave it right here. You see the little thing that's popping up, you should click on that if you guys want to hear my thoughts on Sinnoh. So what we're going to be talking about next is why I love the Hoenn region, because the Hoenn region is another region that I definitely had a lot of time with growing up as a kid, and it was a very fun region, and I absolutely loved playing Pokemon Sapphire because that was the game that I had access to play through the Hoenn region. And like I said, it was very fun and it was a very memorable experience, especially growing up as a kid and jumping into all these different kinds of Pokemon games. So I'm super excited to give my thoughts on the Hoenn region in this video itself. So if you guys have anything you want to share when it comes to your own experiences with the Hoenn region that you guys want to share with me as well, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, because I would absolutely love to hear what your thought process is when it comes to the Hoenn region. And one of the first things I do want to talk about when it comes to the Hoenn region is the whole atmosphere of that region itself. Because when it comes to Hoenn, it has that tropical feel to it, which really sets it apart from the other regions that I explored before when it comes to the Johto and Kanto region. Because when it comes to Johto, it has its own focus on like all these rolling hills within that region itself. And then when it comes to Kanto, it has like this diverse urban and rural areas. But with Hoenn, it has that whole tropical feel where if you look at like the whole atmosphere of the Hoenn region, it has all these different kinds of bright colors. It has this lush greenery areas. It has this sparkling blue water that we see when we're looking at the lake or ocean. And it honestly makes Hoenn feel like a real getaway place. Like if you ever went on vacation and you were going on a cruise or something and you're visiting an island for the very first time, that's pretty much what Hoenn felt like. It just felt like a getaway place that you could explore and had a lot of fun with, because it had a lot of diverse landscapes that you were able to explore as you were playing through like Pokemon Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby, because you have the sandy beaches of Route 103, and you have the dense forests of Petalburg Woods, and you also have Mount Chimney when you're traveling through the volcano, which just traveling through a volcano itself is just a cool concept in itself. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do that within Pokemon Sapphire. And of course, you have these underwater routes like Route 126 that you were able to explore as well. So that's what really made Hoenn stand out as a region, because of that whole different feel that it had to it. And that's why I absolutely love the whole tropical feel of this region, because it felt very different from regions that I explored when I was first getting into the Pokemon series. And obviously one of the things to mention as well, which is going to be a common theme as we talk about each of these regions of Pokemon when I give my thoughts on them, is the Pokemon themselves, because I have a lot of experiences when it comes to these Pokemon that I got introduced to as I was traveling through each of these regions. Because when it comes to a lot of the Hoenn Pokemon, I actually really loved a lot of them. Like when it came across a Pokemon like Salamence, I absolutely loved it, because one of the things about me growing up as a kid, I always loved dragons. So I already knew off the bat I was going to love Salamence just based on that alone. And as soon as I ran across a Bagon, because I was spending hours on end trying to run across a Bagon, I was like, okay, I need to train this thing so I can eventually get a Salamence, because this thing looks absolutely badass. And also when it comes to my favorite Pokemon, Gardevoir, which you guys know because I've made many videos before discussing why Gardevoir is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, this was the very region that got me introduced to Gardevoir, and that's when I caught my very first Pokemon besides my starter, which was Mudkip, which I absolutely loved that starter. Shout out to Mudkip. But Ralt was the very first Pokemon that I've ever added onto my team, and then after that, once it evolved into like Kycurla and Gardevoir, Gardevoir just became a mainstay when it came to a lot of the future Pokemon games that I played, and that's just why I just love Gardevoir so much. I mean, I made a video before if you want to hear more thoughts on why Gardevoir is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, when I talked about the 6 Pokemon I'd take on any adventure. So if you wanted more in-depth response right there, I'll be sure to leave that right here so you guys can check out this video. But yes, this was the very reason why I got so invested in Gardevoir. And also when it came to Metagross as well, you know, it was a very intimidating Pokemon, but just looking at Metagross, it just really made me want to eventually come across a Beldum and train it so it could eventually evolve into a Metagross down the line, because a lot of these Pokemon within the Hoenn region looked really badass. Which brings me to my next topic of discussion. A lot of the Hoenn Pokemon within the region itself, a lot of the designs felt fresh and interesting, and I absolutely loved that, because there was just so many different options I can choose from And that's why it made it so difficult whenever I was trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to build my team, because I just wanted every single Pokemon on me as I was traveling through the game. But of course, you're only allowed to have 6 Pokemon on you when you're traveling through the Hoenn region or just any Pokemon game in general. But it was just really hard to decide what Pokemon I wanted to add because a lot of the designs just looked so cool. And honestly, Hoenn just had one of the best Pokemon designs overall when it came to a lot of the different Pokemon that were introduced to us in that region. And there's also like a lot of memorable routes and locations that I remember visiting when I was traveling through these different parts of the Hoenn region as a kid. Like I mentioned before, Pokemon Sapphire was my introduction to the Hoenn region. That's why I was able to play through these games and just build all these different kinds of memories as I was playing these games as a kid. And when it came to like a lot of these different routes and locations that I was visiting within the game itself, like I mentioned before, when it came to like going underwater and exploring routes like 126, it was honestly like really interesting, like just to go underwater and explore a route. Like I never imagined when I was playing a Pokemon game I would ever have the opportunity to do something like that, but here it is. I actually had the opportunity to do something like that, and that was just really cool. And I also love soaring through the skies and just traveling through each of these towns that I visited before, especially when I was trying to go after all these different kinds of legendary Pokemon that was roaming around the areas, like Latios and Latias, for example. And also when it came to like specific locations that really resonated with me, like how much I loved the Fury Challenge or the Fury Path or the mysterious Pseudopolis City, when it came to the whole connection between Groudon and Kyogre, when I eventually had the opportunity to run across them. Those were definitely like a lot of memorable routes and locations that I remember visiting as I was playing through the games, that I can always go back at any time and just relive those moments again. And also there was a lot of interesting features within this game itself that really stood out to me, that made it really fun as I was traveling through the Pokemon Sapphire game that I was playing when I was trying to progress further into the story itself. Because when it came to the double battles within the Hoenn region, I absolutely loved that, because it just added like another strategic layer to the battling, when it made me stop and think like, okay, what kind of Pokemon I wanted to throw out there as I was participating within these double battles. And I also love the contest that was introduced to us. Like this was actually the very first time that contests were introduced to us in any single Pokemon game. And I thought it was very fun because it was something different, because with a lot of these Pokemon games, it's always like you just taking your Pokemon and traveling through the world, and you're getting into these different kinds of wild battles with Pokemon, or you're going up against these different kinds of trainers, gym leaders, or you're progressing through the Elite Four. So I liked how there was something different where you're actually able to showcase your Pokemon in a different way when it came to participating in these contests, where you're able to showcase the Pokemon's beauty and coolness. And if you were actually able to go further within those contests itself, and then you were actually rewarded with ribbons, which was just a nice achievement to have as you were playing through these Pokemon games. And I also can't forget the secret bases. Like I absolutely love the secret bases. I think that's like one of the main things a lot of people loved about the Hoenn region as well, is the fact that you were able to create your own secret base, and you're able to put like any kind of furniture in there. Like it was just a very cool concept that was introduced within the Hoenn region itself, where it pretty much just added a layer of like, okay, I'm actually able to personalize something the way that I want it to be. And it was just really cool, and that's just something that anybody loved. Whenever it comes to a game that actually gives me the ability to like customize something of my liking, I always happen to really love that. And also when it comes to the plot of the storylines that you're following within the Hoenn games itself, you're trying to figure out exactly how you're going to stop Team Magma and Team Aqua, depending on what game you're playing. Because if you're trying to figure out how to stop Team Aqua, then you're playing Pokemon Sapphire. But if you're going up against Team Magma, then you're playing Pokemon Ruby. So that was a very interesting thing that was added in there as well. And it was just really interesting to see like the different kind of environmental themes that was showcased within the story as well. And I also really liked the whole rivalry that I had with each of these characters that I was going up against in these games. Like when it came to May, if you decide to play as a boy in the game, or if you decided to play as a girl in the game, you're going up against Brendan. It was also really interesting to see exactly like, okay, whenever you come across your rival, like how much stronger you and your rival has gotten when it comes to training your Pokemon, so you guys can compete and see who comes out on top at the end of it, to showcase how much stronger your Pokemon has gotten. And also when it came to like the bosses of like Team Magma and Team Aqua, and you're going up against Archie and Maxie. It was just very interesting to show like a different touch to the story, to also showcase as well, like, okay, you're being put into a situation, let's see if you have what it takes to go up against these tough trainers that you come across as you're progressing within the game itself. And there's also like some memorable characters that I remember as I was playing through Pokemon Sapphire as well, when I was traveling through Hoenn. Like when it came to Wally, for example, like that's definitely a character that really stood out to me, which was also around the time when I was trying to capture a Ralts of my own for the very first time, because you get introduced to Wally and he's a really kind person and you become friends with this character and you have to teach them how to catch a Pokemon for the very first time. And the Pokemon that Wally chooses is a Ralts. And that's one of the memorable moments that I can remember when I was playing through the game, because you were able to like help this character become a Pokemon trainer within the game itself. And it was just really nice just to see something like that being added within the game itself, so you could showcase your relationship being built with that character within the game. And there's also a lot of nostalgia that I hold with the Hoenn region itself, considering that it is the second Pokemon region that I've ever played, because it went from the Kanto region, which got me introduced to Pokemon when it came to Pokemon Fire Red, and then of course the other Game Boy game that I had access to, which was Pokemon Sapphire, got me introduced to the whole landscape of the Hoenn region. So it's very special to me in that way, because I spent a lot of time, just like how I did in Pokemon Fire Red, when it came to all the different kinds of Pokemon that I was training, when I was trying to build my team, when it came to me progressing through the game and going up against my rivals and getting these gym badges and going up against the Elite Four and catching all these different kinds of legendary Pokemon that I wanted to. That's something that's always going to resonate with me each time I stop and think about it, because it's such a memorable experience, especially when it came to the early stages of me getting into Pokemon for the very first time. And I also did have like some fun playing like the remakes of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire as well, when it came to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which thankfully I do have that game in my possession, so I can always play that game whenever I get in the mood to play it again. Don't have Sapphire anymore. I'm not entirely sure what happened to it, but I still have that game if I ever want to play it. But I did like how I was able to relive my whole experiences through the Hoenn region again throughout that game. It was nice to get Mega Evolutions. Like I said earlier, my favorite starter within this region itself was Mudkip. So it was really dope to get Mega Swampert, because that thing looked like a beast when it Mega Evolved. So I just love the Hoenn region. It just really sits well with me when it comes to a lot of the memories that I had growing up as a kid, playing through the Hoenn region for the very first time. But other than that, that's honestly all I have to really say about the Hoenn region. So I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Like, how do you guys feel about the Hoenn region as a whole? Is there anything in general that you guys want to share with me when it comes to the Hoenn region? Like any memories you want to share, or just anything that pops up in your head that you want to share with me? Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, if you guys enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to follow me on my social media, be sure to check out my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook page. All of that is located in the description below. Make sure to click on that bell for notifications so you guys are fully aware of whenever I upload a video on the channel. But other than that, I hope all of you guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.